Hello and welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. First, to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, presides a meeting on the last preparations for the upcoming Mediterranean Games and gives instructions in order to make a success out of this sporting event. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, receives the first National Secretary of the Socialist Forces Front, FFS, Youssef Aouchiche. As a representative of the President of the Republic, Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman renews in Stockholm Algeria's commitment to implement the President of the Republic's program on sustainable development. The Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Lieutenant General Saeed Shingareha, reads the opening chapter of the Holy Quran on the soul of the late Major General Namus Hamido at the Army's Central Hospital, Mohammed Saghir Naqash. In Morocco, a boiling social situation denounced by a disgruntled population determined to continue its fight against the Makhzen regime. Good evening, those were the headlines. First, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, presided on Thursday a meeting during which a presentation was made on the last preparations of the 2022 Mediterranean Games. The President of the Republic gave on the occasion precise instructions to the persons in charge of the organization of the 19th edition of the Mediterranean Games in order to make a success out of this international sporting event and honor our country. In other news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Thursday the first National Secretary of the Socialist Front, FFS, Youssef Aouchiche. The audience took place at the Presidency of the Republic's headquarters in the presence of the Principal Private Secretary of the Presidency, Abdelaziz Khalaf. On this occasion, the first National Secretary of the Socialist Forces Front, Youssef Aouchiche, made the following statement.
بردنا الإيجابي على دعوة الرئيس السيد عبد المجيد تبون.
We've responded positively to the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune's invitation. Therefore, the FFS confirms its loyalty towards its principles, namely that of constructive dialogue and responsible opposition. The party doesn't miss any opportunity to showcase its adherence to the project of national construction based on democracy and the participation in all society's activities. Three major points were discussed during the meeting, namely, we asked the President of the Republic more clarifications concerning his political will regarding the framework of the national dialogue to strengthen the internal front, stressing that any initiative of this kind must allow associations, organizations, and media outlets to participate so as to boost the peaceful, democratic exchange. Secondly, we mentioned the party's projects and initiatives regarding a national consensus based on comprehensive dialogue that effectively solves the multi-dimensional crisis experienced by our country, whether at the political, social, or economic levels. We also expressed our concern when it comes to the reform system. Therefore, we asked for urgent economic and social measures that preserves the dignity of the Algerian people and raise the living standards as well. Some respectful conditions have also been demanded as part of a good intention for political and social partners, especially for citizens, notably the release without preconditions all political and opinion detainees, starting with Mohamed Baba Najjar and Ismail Shalal, mayor of Azafon municipality. and the lifting of restrictions imposed on parties, associations, and media outlets that prevents them from performing their role of participating in the building of the society. At the end, we exchange views with President Tebboune concerning both regional and international issues. Today, it is necessary for the Algerian people and the authorities to deploy more efforts in order to restore confidence to the Algerian women and men so as to participate in the building of our country.
Following the President of the Republic's instructions, the Transport Minister, Munji Abdullah, terminated the functions of both the Chief Executive Officer of the National Company for Passenger Sea Transport, Kamal Saad, and his Algiers Station Manager, Kamal Dalia, a decision taken due to their detrimental attitude towards the image of Algeria and the interests of its citizens. Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman represents the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, at the International High-Level Meeting on the Environment, Stockholm +50. In his speech made on the spot, the Prime Minister affirmed that Algeria is determined to implement the program of the President of the Republic on sustainable development. Ines Killu has the details.
The consequences of climate change in the world and its impact on Algeria is the main issue addressed by the representative of the President of the Republic in Stockholm. Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman recalled on this occasion the efforts made by Algeria to cope with these challenges.
Algeria, which has been facing increased environmental crisis for decades, is working within the framework of the implementation of the program of the President of the Republic to achieve sustainable development in its three dimensions through the adoption of a series of governmental and sectoral programs, strategies and plans, of which I will mention the launch of an ambitious program to develop renewable energies in order to reach a production capacity of 15 gigawatts by 2035, the adoption of a national strategy to rationalize energy consumption and promote the use of renewable energy, the adoption of an action plan for the rehabilitation of the Algerian Green Dam to increase the forest cover to 4.7 million hectares.
Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman also pleaded for the concerted efforts of all and the mobilization of the international community to reduce the harmful effects of climate change.
I would also like to take this opportunity to recall the decision of the head of state and government of the African Union during the extraordinary summit held in Malabo on May 27th, which adopted the proposal of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, to create a continental civil force in order to be ready to respond to the natural disasters in Africa as a contribution to meeting the challenges resulting from climate change and natural disasters. I would also like to remind you that Algeria committed itself to finance the first meeting for the creation of this mechanism and is now calling on the international community to support this strategic project of continental scope.
The Stockholm +50 meeting is expected to provide a new impetus for environmental awareness, as well as an opportunity to adopt new green stimulus packages and develop recommendations for a healthy planet.
Still in Stockholm, where the Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman held talks with his Swedish counterpart Magdalena Andersson on the sidelines of his participation in the Stockholm +50 high-level international meeting as a representative of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. In the parliamentary activity, the President of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, chaired over a plenary session devoted to oral questions concerning the fields of industry, agriculture, housing, and health. This session allowed the official installation of 3 members of the Presidential Third. On this occasion, the President of the Council of the Nation made a statement during which he stressed the importance of coordinating the work of all sectors as they represent a huge responsibility with all economic and social repercussions implied. During a keynote speech made by the President of the National People's Assembly on the occasion of the International Children's Day, he affirmed that Algeria gives a particular importance to the youth generation's education, while calling on the persons in charge of the child's affairs to become more aware of the Educational Act. In another context, the Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Lieutenant General Saeed Shingriha, read the opening chapter of the Holy Quran on the soul of the late Major General Namus Hamidou at the Army's Central Hospital, Mohammed Saghir Naqash, in the presence of General Ben Ali, Commander of the Republican Guard, the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Defense, Forces Commanders, the Commander of the National Gendarmerie, the Commander of the 1st Military Region, heads of departments, directors, heads of central services of the National Defense Ministry, as well as high-ranking officials and personnel of the Army's Central Hospital. In another development, the Justice Minister Abdelrashid Tabbi chaired on Thursday in Algiers the installation ceremony of heads and commissioners of the Administrative Courts of Appeal. The installation ceremony took place at the headquarters of the State Council in the presence of the President of the Constitutional Court, Omar Belhaj, the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of judicial and legal affairs, Boualam, as well as high-ranking officials belonging to the justice sector. This installation came in accordance with the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboun's decision appointing the heads and commissioners of the Administrative Courts of Appeal. The Petroleum Exporting Countries Organization and its allies OPEC Plus decided on Thursday during its 29th ministerial reunion held via video conference to increase the alliance's total oil production with 648,000 barrels per day starting next July, according to the Energy and Mines Minister Mohamed Arqab. Moving on to the international news, the icon of the Sahrawi resistance, Sultana Khaya, alongside the American delegation accompanying her, received on Wednesday a warm welcome at the Las Palmas airport in Spain, where the Sahrawi activist will receive medical care following the heinous violation acts and torture practiced against her by the Moroccan occupation authorities. The economic situation in Morocco has reached a low level. Experts are warning against this situation that could lead to serious consequences, whereas the Moroccan people are more determined than ever to continue their fight until their demands are met. More details with Melissa Kebash.
The Moroccan socio-economic situation keeps worsening. The trade deficit decreased with nearly $10 billion during the first quarter of the current year, according to the Moroccan authorities. The analysts and experts are warning against this situation, which could result in nearly $124 billion of debt, a policy which could lead to unemployment and bankruptcy, already affected following the external debt of nearly $100 billion and the increase of imports. Consequently, Morocco will now have to seek for new loans in order to avoid non-payment of wages. According to experts, the economic sector of the country is on the verge of collapsing due to the Makhzen regime and the few families close to the palace who are looting the country's wealth. Due to the drastic decline in growth, the country's economy have recorded serious outbreak of prices, with a purchasing power that continues to deteriorate. An alarming situation marked by protest movements carried across the Moroccan territories with legitimate demands, namely that of improving the people's living conditions. For its part, the Makhzen regime remains silent, displaying a total indifference to its people. As for Moroccans, they are determined to continue their fight and denounce their terrible social conditions till the establishment of a republic headed by a competent and honest leader. with a view to banishing socioeconomic disparities, establishing social justice, and an equitable sharing of wealth, which could also pave the way for good relations with neighboring countries.
Let's now have a listen to the Moroccan opponent settled in France, Abdelatif Zaraidi.
Désormais, il est mystère pour personne que
In addition to the difficult social and economic situation in Morocco, given the official reports announced by the UN organization about the state of the kingdom, drugs represent a huge percentage in the gross domestic product of the country, and trafficking in cannabis and other drugs, as cocaine, are their main source of income. Everywhere in Moroccan towns and villages, the drug economy is developing, which poses a real danger inside the country and to the neighboring countries, even European ones, given the huge quantities of drugs increasingly smuggled and produced from the Mahsen regime. And there is another phenomenon which is gaining momentum in recent years, the human trafficking. The path of corruption is established by the palace, this monarchy, and all this benefit only the royal family and not the people.
In another development, a partnership agreement was signed on Wednesday at Le Méridien Hotel in Oran province between the Organizational Committee of the Mediterranean Games, represented by the head commissioner of the 19th edition of the Mediterranean Games, Mohamed Aziz Derwaz, and the National Oil and Gas Company, Sonatrach, represented by its chief executive officer, Toufiq Hakkar. This took place in the presence of Saeed Sayoud, the governor of Oran province, and the vice president of the organizational committee. Just a few days prior to the official kickoff of the Oran 2022 Mediterranean Games, a foreign media delegation paid a visit to the different sporting facilities. More details with Sabrin Taferganit.
The preparations for the Mediterranean Games planned in Oran province are still going. The foreign media delegation paid a visit to the facilities welcoming these games on the sideline of an international seminar reflecting the role of the media service to promote peace and coexistence between the Mediterranean countries. I think that Oran's Mediterranean Games will be successful and the participants will find all the facilities. The media professionals were impressed by the sport facilities and commended the efforts made on the different levels. The facilities are ready on time and on a perfect state to receive the participants. A big step to show the readiness of Oran province to receive the Mediterranean Games.
And with this, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for your attention.